Hey guys, Andrew here with the Young Wild Financially Free podcast, and today we have a video conference, a Zoom call podcast for you guys. We were able to interview a wonderful woman, an awesome investor and entrepreneur. Her name is Tamar Hermes. She's based out of LA, but apparently she's moving to Austin soon, which we're really excited about. But because she was in LA, we did this Zoom call, and obviously with the times, with everything going on in the world right now, social distancing is big right now, and is very key to flattening the curve and getting everybody better. So we're very blessed we were able to have a Zoom call with Tamar and really learn her story. She has an amazing story. Her parents were Holocaust survivors. She really came from nothing and kind of built herself up and had this awesome career in entertainment, and then at age 28 she bought her first rental property and decided to switch it all up and really hone in on real estate investing. So I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So hey everybody, welcome to the Young Wild Financially Free podcast. This time from home, from quarantine. My name is Andrew Roberts, and I have a co-host who's with me, Mr. Matthew Teifke.
Hey guys.
And so today, it's kind of a blessing, honestly, that we're in quarantine, because now we have access to people who are out of state, like today's guest. Tamar Hermes is a full-time real estate investor, educator, and consultant. She's the founder of the Wealth Warrior Woman, where she guides women on how to become financially free by teaching them how to understand the numbers, options, and strategies in real estate through her signature masterclass, which is called the Real Deal Formula. And she has been investing in real estate for over 20 years with a focus on appreciation with buy and hold single family homes and duplexes in Los Angeles. And in the past few years, she's expanded her portfolio to include passive multifamily investments across multiple states, done private lending, and gotten into Airbnb. And she bought her first duplex when she was 28, which I have a hard time believing, because you don't look a day over 30. So I don't know how.
This is already my favorite podcast I've ever done or will ever do in my life. Thank you so much.
Of course, yeah, no problem. So welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Good. And so you are still currently living in LA?
Yeah, and we actually met because I am embarking on a relocation to Austin, Texas, and it's been very exciting working on this move in the midst of a global pandemic, which I do not recommend for everyone. You have to look at your circumstances.
Yeah, no one could have predicted it, so it's tough. So are you from LA originally? Where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up?
Yes, I am originally from Los Angeles, and I have always, while I have this love with Los Angeles, I've always felt like just the way the city is set up, it is so spread out that it doesn't feel like, I never really feel like I'm in a city. You know, I feel like I'm always in a part of a city. And so part of wanting to relocate to Austin at this time is to have more of that feeling. But I have lived here. I've traveled quite extensively, and I've lived in different states for short periods of time. I lived in Atlanta for a couple of years back when I was in entertainment many years ago. And so I ended up coming back here and met my husband, had kids. So once that wheel starts moving, it's you're not as mobile.
Mm-hmm. For sure, definitely.
I hear you on that. we've moved I think 8 or 9 times in the last 2 years, and now we're done. And we got a baby on the way, and that's the reason.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, family's very important. So bunkering down, kind of setting your roots is definitely a priority to a lot of people. So growing up in LA, did you have any siblings? What was your childhood like?
So I have one older sister. She's actually a rabbi, and and which is very cool.
Both of our
And,
reactions.
Yeah, that's another podcast episode.
Yeah.
And we grew up, we were pretty poor. And I won't say like we had food on the table and we had a roof over our head. So we weren't by any stretch impoverished, but there was very much a sense of not really having a lot, and this kind of feeling, this overall feeling of this struggle, or just this struggle to just survive, which I think a lot of us get trapped in. And especially the generation of my parents, where my father was a Holocaust survivor and my mom was a pioneer in Israel. And so when you grow up in that kind of an environment, survival is kind of the name of the game. And if you survive, you win. That's huge. But growing up in Los Angeles, I was in a different place. And I also, they had me going to school with a lot of affluent children. So I was around all these people that had a lot of things. And so money was a big question for me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can imagine, like you said, kind of growing up, not exactly top tier, kind of struggling a little bit. Money, I'm sure, was kind of always on the mind of like, what are we going to do? And so I guess that being said, did that kind of influence why you got into real estate, or why you chose that profession?
Not really. I actually did not know anything about real estate. My parents didn't really talk about owning property, and they also didn't really, they lived at one point before my parents got divorced. They owned a house, and then my mom had bought one rental property, but never really talked about it much. And for me, it was really trial and error, which is one of the reasons why I'm so excited to be here today. I love Young, Wild, Financially Free, because honestly, anyone that is young, wild, and listening to this podcast has the biggest gift on their hands, which is time. And if you're listening now, the financially free part is so attainable. You have energy, you have so much knowledge available at your fingertips. And you've got time on your side, and time is a great vehicle in real estate. For me, the way that it happened was I was in entertainment. It's funny because I've had several different careers. I've owned businesses and done different things, and so at this time I was actually working in entertainment, and I was making really good money. I was 20, well, no, I bought my first property at 28. So I was there, and I was working at that age, and I just started to save some money and was working really long hours. And I was thinking, okay, I can keep doing this, and I can kind of keep paying all the bills and being able to travel. I mean, I was making good money. I mean, well over 6 figures at that time. And I was thinking, but where do I go from here? Like, is that all there is? And I felt a little bit trapped. If I didn't want to do that job, I had no idea how I was going to pay my bills. I had not enough savings to really sustain myself. And so it was then that I started looking at, okay, how can I lower my expenses, which turned me to, let's get rid of this rent. Paying rent to someone, and started getting me turned on to real estate, which was when I bought my duplex.
Wow. Very cool. So it was just kind of like a process of kind of figuring out in your own head of how real estate worked, the fact that you were paying rent to somebody else and not putting money into an asset that you owned. And that's what kind of, I guess, sparked the interest, really?
Yeah, I mean, I had to just keep piecing it together. See, the part of the reason why I didn't look at real estate was, I came from a place where I didn't think that real estate and wealth and all that was for me, because I didn't grow up that way. And for anyone listening, where you grow up and you don't have that much, there's this story that we start to tell ourselves, like, this is how I was born. This is my lot in life. Like, I'm just not meant to be one of the people that have money. You know, it's just like you feel like you're born into what you're born into. And it's really hard to see another way if you don't have parents that are cheering you on or showing you a path, because your parents are all you really have to guide you. And my parents were just worried about survival. So all I got was survive, survive, survive. I didn't get like any questions about, hey, what do you want to do? How do you want to live your life? What's important to you? How would it feel like? Do you know that this option of real estate's available? Do you know that you could have money even though you were born without money? Those were not, that was not even remotely in our universe. And it was wildly detrimental, I think, to my process. The fact that, you know, my sister became a rabbi and I became an entrepreneur and a successful investor is pretty remarkable. Sometimes my sister and I both pinch ourselves because we really don't know how the heck we got there. We didn't, it was certainly not by any fault of my parents. They did the best they could, but we just certainly just didn't have any knowledge. There wasn't a podcast, Young, Wild, and Financially Free. There wasn't knowledge and resources.
Yeah. I'm glad you bring that all up because I was fortunate to be introduced to it very early. My mom was a single mom, and I saw her literally buy 1 to 2 properties a year and end up with 16 houses. And I feel very blessed to have been around that and to see what it takes and the sacrifice. And that's a huge part of why we're doing this. Like, we truly are trying to get this out there that, like, hey, you can do it. Anybody can do it. I preach it all the time, every day. Like, go buy a house, get your first one. You can do the second one. And you're so right that people don't realize it. I mean, it's the knowledge and the education that's key. And then the fear of the unknown. But, you know, I mean, literally, we've talked about this. People hear a $200,000 house and they think they need $200,000. You know, they just don't even know. They have no idea. And so I'm just glad you said that, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get that message out there. I'm so passionate about that everybody can own real estate and everybody can do it. You know, if a single mom can do it, or you did it, you know, I've got a lady that's a full-time nurse and she's doing it. Like, you just got to get out there, and it's not easy and it takes time, but everybody can do it. I 100% believe that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, that's why I think one of the things that distinguishes the work that I do, which is that I figured it out. You know, I do not need to be wealth warrior woman. I can just go and, you know, go to yoga and go to Italy whenever quarantine ends and we're actually able to fly safely. But I mean, the point is that, you know, I had to figure it all out. And I really felt like I missed so much joy and so many opportunities to really be engaged in the world, because I was in this cycle of struggle over money and of what I couldn't be. And that's why for me also that message is so important about real estate, because it is, like you said, Matt, it is a vehicle that anyone can do. Anyone. I mean, you don't even have to take a lot of risk. I mean, I bought the property that I bought 20 years ago. I still have it. And I bought it for $390,000 and I could sell it for $1.2 million today. So,
do you still own that exact property?
I do own it. Yeah, I do own it. So
cool.
Talk about like someone who, you know, who might have been like afraid of letting go of an asset early on and then just over time decided to keep it. But even that, I mean, you could be going about your life and doing your business. And if you're buying in a place like Austin or a place like Los Angeles, where those are really hot markets, they're going to continue to grow. And we're going to be seeing major appreciation regardless of any global pandemic, where these kind of states are going to come out strong. Ultimately, that, I mean, you kind of can't go wrong. I mean, why would you rather spend, I mean, I put $40,000 down on that house. I could have easily gone and bought a new car. Wow, I would have gotten a new car. Isn't that great? And today, that's just one asset, and it's worth over $1 million to me.
Yeah, and that's
incredible.
The important thing that I point out is everybody can do it, but it takes sacrifice. And what you said is you could have bought a car, but you didn't. And that's the sacrifice you got to make.
Well, I sacrificed having a Mercedes, but I still had a car. So actually I had a Mercedes. I had an old used diesel and it was so cool. It was awesome, but I didn't spend that kind of money on it. So you're right. It was like, it was a choice. Like, I like to think you're right. Like, a lot of times we talk about the sacrifice, and I love to think about it more like you're making choices. It's not like you can't have a car. You just probably can't have an $800 month payment on a car.
Guess what kind of car I have?
What kind?
It's a Prius.
That's awesome. That's like, isn't that what Warren Buffett drives?
I don't know, but that, you know, the point is, like, I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and you know, I've got multiple houses, and I drive a Prius, and sometimes I do get a little embarrassed about it, you know, but I got to get over that. But it's the sacrifices, and that's the sacrifices I saw my mom make. She made tons of sacrifices, but the point is that if you want to elevate yourself and get to like a different status, you have to make the sacrifices, but you absolutely can do it. I mean, everybody, you know, I mean, you know, we're all fortunate to live in America, right? There's opportunity everywhere. Like, if you're willing to work hard and go get a job, like, everybody can save 15, 20 grand a month. I mean, not a month, a year, you know, by not going out to eat, not partying. Like, I mean, not everyone has challenges, but a lot of people can do that don't realize they can. And that's one property per year right there.
Yeah. And I mean, you're just talking about one strategy, Matt, right? I mean, you could also, if you didn't have any money, I mean, there's seller finance, there's lease options. I mean, there's a million ways.
You go sign a contract, you know?
Be a wholesaler. Yeah. Absolutely. So, I mean, there really isn't, you know, you got to start somewhere, right? You got to start where you are. And I mean, it sounds like we're all on the same page in terms of just go out and do it, and just believe that you can, because others are doing it and we're not any more. We're just humans. We're just kind of, you know, we certainly, you know, some of us study more or maybe have more knowledge from experience, but we're all kind of cut from the same cloth. We're all human beings. So if you see 10,000 people doing it successfully, there's no reason that you're not part of that club.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. There's a lot of people doing it right. I kind of want to, dive back into what you're talking about with your childhood, how you were raised and how your parents were kind of like just, you know, focused on survival, and that was kind of their mentality. And you and I definitely had a different childhood. You know, Matt and I grew up together in the same neighborhood. It was, you know, very middle class, and my mom was not rich by any means, but she was also, I mean, we had a roof over our heads, and my mom taught me the value of a dollar bill when I was younger. But at the same time, I would see friends that were like, when they were 16, they were given a car, when I had to share a car with my mom for the, you know, 2 years of high school, which was a little bit embarrassing and things like that. So I kind of developed a mentality that was a little bit, I don't know, maybe cynical of people who were wealthy. And it's taken me a long time, and I'm still working on it, about how money isn't a negative thing, and being rich or successful or anything like that isn't a negative thing. And I feel like that might have been something that you had to get over yourself and work through. And I just wanted you to kind of dive into that, on how you did that and what that process was like.
Yeah, God, Andrew, that's so good. That's so good. I mean, because there's so many of us that are you know, victims of this whole money equation, where, you know, we hear money is the root of all evil. Money is hard. People with money are greedy. And it's true. I definitely had a lot of issues around people with money. I even at a certain point in my career and my success thought, well, I don't need any more money. You know, how much do I need? And I really needed to work hard to expand on how much more I could give back, and all the people that really needed money, that maybe couldn't make it themselves, that needed support, to give to charity. But I think that, how did I work through that? Wow. I mean, it's a big one. Once those messages get in there, it is a constant process of retraining your brain to understand that there are those are certain stories that you've started telling yourself, and it's what you truly believe. And I think one of the things that really helped a lot was starting to feed myself with stories that were more positive of people. Like I can look at people that have money. You know, a lot of times women like to look at Oprah. She's a great example of someone who came without money, but she really does so much good for the world. You don't look at Oprah and think, what a greedy, nasty lady. You think of her as this glorious, amazing, giving, wonderful person. The fact that she's as rich as she is doesn't bother anybody. Right. And so when we put our, you know, it's that what you focus on expands, right? So it is that goes back to that mental game and starting to make a decision right now to start treating yourself with a little self-dignity and honoring the fact that, you know, that you can live a life that is joyous and prosperous and be a really great citizen and a really great contribution. So I think that it's important to start giving yourself those messages. I mean, I still, you know, every step that I take that moves me forward in terms of where I am financially, in terms of my leadership ability, I have to decide, you know, who do I want to be and how do I want to be that person? I have to make a list of, you know, I am a leader, I am grateful, I am this, I am that, I am capable, I am smart. Sometimes I just need to pound those messages into myself every day because, you know, we all have these challenges and it's a reprogramming really. And you really need to let yourself forgive too. Forgiveness is a big one. You know, forgive all the things that happened or all the times that maybe you felt smaller because you didn't have as much money, or, you know, maybe someone actually said something to you that hurt you and made you feel like you were smaller, and that stayed with you. And so I think that it really it takes yourself really wanting to be a different person and live a different way. And that can open up the whole channels too, in terms of real estate and what you feel like you're capable of doing and what you're motivated to do. Because those negative messages will stop you in your tracks.
Yeah, that's great. Sure. And just one side note on that I've thought about is everyone's heard the quote, money is the root of all evil. But I think what it is greed is the root of all evil. Mm-hmm. It's not money, right? It's the greed that people come and it kind of makes it a negative thing. Like Oprah is doing good things with her money, right? And that's the whole point. But I mean, I'm fascinated, you know, by the history of your dad. You said your dad was a Holocaust survivor. I mean, yeah, that's like next level conversation. And
that's amazing. Yeah.
Were you super close with your dad?
No. In fact, I feel like my sister and I both were not close to my father, and he was a good man. He's passed now, but I think that he had absolutely no skill set as far as raising children. And I mean, you kind of can't blame him. He lost his mom when he was 12. And, you know, it wasn't like she died of a disease or something. I mean, she was basically taken from him and taken to her death. And that's not something that, I mean, it gives me chills just thinking about it, because it's just not in our wheelhouse. I mean, thank gosh we are not, you know, it pales like for COVID, you know, losing your job. It's like, you can get another job, you know, but like, you know, to be taken as a prisoner, to be taken and live in, as a slave, those are not conditions that are easy to overcome. And, you know, we can all even just be grateful that we're not in that situation and just think, darn, like if I'm not in that situation, if I can wake up in the morning and walk outside and smell the fresh air and not have someone like, you know, whip me or beat me or shoot me or put me in a gas chamber, hey, you know, you're doing pretty damn good. Excuse my French.
Yeah.
No,
you're okay.
When you, I mean, it gave me chills legitimately right now, is because, like, you know, when we're younger, we read about it in the books and it doesn't really seem all that real or that close. But then, like, realizing that it was like a couple generations away. You know, I've never talked to anybody whose parents were part of that. And it's just like, golly, that's just so obvious, you know, obviously it's so insane, but
Yeah.
I was just curious, like what that was like for you with your experience with your dad.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a huge challenge. I mean, he certainly didn't talk about it that much, but we all understood. And I think that there was a lot of resentment for me and a lot of guilt, because for a long time, I honestly didn't want that dad. You know, I wanted the guy that was like, you know, buying the properties, that had the money, that could teach me things, that could, you know, inspire me. And like I said, he wasn't a bad guy, and he, you know, he had you know, a decent life, but he, in a lot of ways, could not get out of his own way. And I thought because he couldn't get out of his own way, that I couldn't get out of my own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That must have been tough to kind of work through that internally and kind of like break that down and I guess try and move past it. Obviously you're, you know, I feel like you're out of your own way now. I mean, you're super successful. And so
I know, I didn't want to, you already said how young I was. I don't want to say my age, but I, you know, I definitely have had time. I mean, the one thing that I did realize, and this is another thing that we talk about, like when we talked about those messages, Andrew, that you relate to too as a kid, feeling like, you know, like you kind of resented certain people with money. Mm-hmm. Which is that, you know, you start to see your story as your gift, right? And people talk about that, and you always think, well, that'd be nice. I'd love to see my story as a gift, you know? And the thing is that, when I started to really look at, you know, for my father, the fact that my father survived the concentration camps and the work camp, and, you know, 3 years of imprisonment, I think, my God, like I came from that. Like, I'm not going to like just lay down and die. I'm come from survivor. So as much as I may come from suffering, I'm also someone that is not going to give up too easily. And that has served me very, very, very well.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because I was going to ask, and I just had the other podcast, and he asked me why I thought I was successful, and I said perseverance. But what I was going to ask is like, and this comes from me, like I definitely have a fire. Like there's a fire in me to like go and do things. And I was just wondering if you have that as well, and if most entrepreneurs do, probably yes. But if that comes from what you just said, from your dad, from knowing your history, from something within you to just like constantly be growing and pushing, and like there's a real motivation for me. Do you feel that same way?
Oh, 100%. And I think that every entrepreneur, if they don't have it, they need to find it, because everybody, in addition to like, no matter where you were brought up and no matter what circumstances you've gone through, and the fact that I'm the child of a Holocaust survivor, the truth is like people could, you know, we could get 100 people on here and they'd probably have just as many intense stories of their journey in life and things that they've had to overcome. And absolutely, you know, and we hear it, you know, most entrepreneurs, when you hear their stories, they usually have overcome stuff. I mean, look at Tony Robbins, you know, look at his story. And I mean, you know, it just goes on. And Oprah, I mean, they all have crazy, crazy stories where you just think, oh my God, how did they end up here? You know, and you bet there was a fire.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
That's the key. Mm-hmm. Find the fire. I like that. If you don't have it, you're an entrepreneur, you got to find it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, and you find it, and the thing that's cool is that it's within you. I mean, it's your story. You've got the pain, and you've also got the glory, you know, because I know that for me, when I think about both my parents, my mom was a pioneer as a child for the land of Israel, which is a whole other historical and amazing story. But you know, both of them needed to really learn how to stay afloat. And I think that, that the more that and certainly, I mean, I had the advantage of being first generation here in America, in this country, with the land of opportunity. And so the hardship that I was experienced was more just the stories. I mean, I felt like I was living in a prison, but I really wasn't. My father lived in that prison. I wasn't in that prison. I just told myself that I was.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Man.
That's the thing. I mean, it's cliche to say it's all about hard work, but a lot of it really truly is. And I fall back on, and I've heard this from, I think Gary Vee, is like, if somebody has come from nothing and done it, then you got no excuses. And how many people have done that? Millions, It's not easy, no question about it. And it's not like it's just going to work out. You're going to struggle, but I'm just, I'm so passionate about this because I want people to get there and to see that.
And I think that the other tool that's super valuable is that whole idea of, step by step and breaking down your goals and getting, reading certain books like The One Thing, and a lot of these productivity books that talk about how do you focus, how do you break down goals, so that while, it's like, okay, I want to get my first property. What do I do? That's a lot of, like, where do you start? And it's like, if you start breaking it down, like, okay, I want to get that property. Okay, I want to have 5 properties by 5 years. Okay, what am I going to do in 3 years to get that? Okay, what am I going to do in 2 years to get that? What am I going to do in a month to get that? You just keep backtracking where it's just one step. Okay, I got to call 10 people. I got to find a good realtor. I got to find a good, I got to figure out how to save money. Like, just come up with little things to get you there, instead of just thinking like that it's like this, like we look at the end of the tunnel and we just think, okay, I just want to get there right now, instead of like taking each step. And then, one day you wake up a couple of years later and you're so much further. And it's just, I think that's another thing, is that a lot of people can get defeated by just feeling like it's just too big. It's too much, and while, I love that Matt, you're honest about it. It's like, it's not going to be easy. Like, don't just think you're just going to like pick up the phone and like make $30,000. It's not like that, and don't think that it's always going to go right, but just commit to it and just take one step at a time. Like, find one property, pick one strategy, pick something that works for you, pick something that's based on, I'm sure you have listeners that actually are, have some money that are ready to invest, okay. Once you've got money, you've got more options, are you going to do a buy and hold? Are you going to flip a house? Are you going to maybe give it to a syndicator and have them and, keep working on your career while the syndicator is making money for you? And I don't know if you talk about the multifamilies and syndication. Where people can just, you can do it passively. I'm a hard money lender. So, I mean, I'm making money right now because, I have an investor that is borrowing money from me. Sure. And I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. And one thing that I want to touch on also is, it's easy to look at like me or Andrew or you and be like, oh, they've got it figured out. They've got all these deals, but we're still working as hard and twice as hard, and it's still not easy. So it's not like, let me, get to this point. There is no point to get to, right? It's like, you got to enjoy this every day. It's just as hard right now for me to find a deal as it was when I first started. I have more knowledge and I have more resources, but the deals aren't just falling in my lap by any means. I'm still getting up and working every day. I literally made 60 offers today, no BS. And I'm, it's just what it takes.
You're amazing. That's impressive. Anyone should listen to that. I mean, 60 offers, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's something. That's incredible, but then you can see how you get the kind of results that you get because you're willing to do the effort and you're working on one thing, which is making the offers to get the deal. Yeah. So it's just, you're focusing on one thing and, definitely. And it does not, there's always, we're all in this world, we're all in life and we're all managing. And certainly, the thing is that it's certainly a lot easier to manage life when you have some money in the bank and you don't have to worry about, oh my God, like, how are we going to put food on the table? I mean, you don't want to get there. Right. And so, but definitely we're all on this path and we just keep going and building.
Yeah, and I think the hardest thing is not realizing that it works. And that's why we're trying to nail it home for people. It's like, we're telling you it works. Like, it's working for us. We've seen it work. And it's hard to understand that when you've got nothing and you've already made 100 offers or 200 and it doesn't work. But that one time that it works, and it will, if you keep doing it, you realize like how this all works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
that's awesome.
I heard a quote yesterday from Will Smith, who I'm sure said this a long time ago, but he said, if you want to build a wall, you have to just take one brick and try and lay that one brick as perfectly as possible, and then move on to the next brick and lay that brick as perfectly as possible. You don't build a wall all at once. And so that's exactly what both of you all are talking about, is like, take it day by day, enjoy the process. Don't look at the end goal too much, because that's not going to happen all at once. You need to, tackle each day as it comes and win that day. You don't need to win your whole life today. You need to win today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with you, I guess after buying that first property when you were 28, you didn't get to where you are today all in one day. What was that process like from going from your old career in entertainment to now you're full time in real estate? I'm sure you didn't quit all at one time.
No, I mean, I had built another company in the midst of that. And I got married, and I had, started having my kids.
Uh-huh.
And I think that, that I could have been much more active in real estate. And I mean, I was buying and, doing more buy and holds as I was having the money to do so, but I wasn't involved in a lot of different strategies. I had maybe done like one flip. I had not done a lot. And even when I did it, I was like, I didn't want to believe, that it could actually be that easy. It was like, I turned my back on it, on real estate in a way. I mean, I was investing, but certainly not by any stretch as much as I could have. And that's part of the reason why I'm such a huge advocate now, why I spend my time like you guys telling women, hey, get into real estate and this is how you can do it, and holding their hand. Because for me, I think there was a lot of fears and a lot of blocks about, okay, I have this amount of money now, but if I make a mistake on a deal, then I'll lose all my money, which isn't even true, but it's what we think. And yeah, I mean, I might have lost some money. I mean, we talked at the beginning, I talked about this relocation to Austin. I'm probably going to be holding 2 very large mortgages at the same time. If my primary house doesn't sell, and I'm doing the cost analysis on it, and it's the price of doing business, and like some deals, yeah, it's like, would I prefer not to do that? Yes. But sometimes when you weigh it out, you can see that, money goes out, money needs to move. And sometimes, you might do a flip, you think, you have it costed at that the repairs are going to be $50,000, it ends up being $70,000. Well, that's part of it. And you might do another one where it ends up costing $35,000 and you thought it was going to be $50,000. So, I mean, all of these equations, like even as we crunch the numbers, they can be there. Sometimes things do not go according to plan, but that doesn't mean that you're not good at it. It just means that you're in process with it and that you're learning. And then the next deal will bring something new. And that's part of the whole game. Well, it's not a game, but it's part of the whole real estate investing life.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I guess kind of touching on the wealth warrior woman, when did you start that, and what's going on with that present day?
So I started that a few years ago, and what's going on with it is that I coach and consult women privately to take them through their finances and financial analysis to really see what they might be missing. I mean, there are certain things that not only are there a lot of tax things that a lot of people don't understand or know about the opportunities to save money, but also just basic things like, women and men, they'll be working, they're making money, and they have started to have kids, and then they don't have a trust. And then, probably like for people, some people say like, well, I don't want to like get life insurance and a trust and all that. And at first it does kind of feel like, oh God, like there's more stuff. I have to put more money, I have to deal with all this paperwork. But the truth is those are all your assets that you're protecting for your legacy, for your next generation. And, you have no idea how many women that I work with that don't have that together. And then there's also things like, how are you budgeting and how much money you might be saving $5,000 a year when you could be saving $15,000 a year. Just, and so things like that. So I go through that. I go through, depending on, some of my clients are more seasoned investors that are working toward new strategies, that are having some blocks around, how to do it or how to connect or how to reach. So I work with them on that. And then the group program, the Real Deal Formula, really is a walk through the financial analysis, the mindset, and all the strategies, all the options while we're working through to get you to the deal. And I always say, educate, empower, own. And that's kind of what we've been talking about too. I mean, that's really what it is. And so I feel like that support makes a huge difference. It's the accountability, and it's the walking through step by step to really piece down, where you're at, how to look at real estate, how to look at your finances so that you can really move forward successfully as an investor.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And do you offer these online, or are they in person, or how is it? I guess.
Yeah, I was on Zoom when Zoom wasn't cool. If only I'd bought stock. That was one of them I didn't. I did buy Tesla though. So that made up for it. I do. I teach those on Zoom, and I usually work with my clients virtually. Sometimes when I have local clients, we'll meet. But for the most part, these are online classes, and that's how it's done. So it can really be done anywhere from anywhere, as we all know now, because now everybody's so well versed.
Yeah. That's so awesome. That's very cool. Very cool. I guess how can they find Wealth Warrior Woman or The Real Deal?
So they can do one of two things. Anyone can email me at hello@wealthwarriorwoman, singular, WOMAN.com. Or you can go to my website, which is www.wealthwarriorwoman.com. I prefer email just because I want to make sure that we connect, because I want to know who you are and I want to be able to know you so I can see how I can support.
Sure.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Whenever we publish this, I'll make sure that I include all that information in the show notes. And Matt, you usually like to end us on a really good question.
Yeah, I guess best advice for young, wild, seeking to be financially free entrepreneur.
Yeah, best advice. I would say, like we've been saying all along, just set your sights and, have your 5-year goal, have your 3-year goal, have your 1-year goal, and just keep chipping away and stay in it. And, if Matt can make 60 offers today, you can make 5, you can make 1. And it's just a matter of deciding and really understanding that you really have everything that you need to make this real estate investing opportunity work for you. And if you do come across, if you start seeing like, oh, I can't do it because, I really challenge anyone to really ask that question to themselves out loud and see if that's really true.
Yeah. We have, just a quick side note, we have a podcast, our 5th episode, with a guy named Diego, and he was illegal and didn't have his papers, and figured out how to own real estate. And he's the one guy I point to. It's like, hey, listen to this story and then come tell me what your excuse is.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, people can find those stories just about anywhere.
Right. Right.
So I just, and, especially from, one of the things that I keep talking about my age, not that old, but the thing is that, from someone who definitely for sure more than half my life is gone, unless I'm one of the oldest people living in the world. And, I just say, like, don't waste your time. Like, don't waste these precious, precious moments of your life, of your dreams, of things that you want to have happen. Because like I said, you have time on your side. I mean, you really do. And if you just, step into it now, like these young, beautiful guys, Andrew and Matt, you can also be, moving fast on your journey toward your financially free dreams.
Mm-hmm.
I
That's
love
awesome.
it.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, you're going to love Austin. I'm sure you already know that, but
I can't wait. I can't wait.
We're excited for you to be here. We're happy to take you out and show you around the town and show your family a good time.
I can't wait. I'm all in. We'll go look at properties.
Heck yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
We're here to be a resource.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We really enjoyed it. I know that we could dive in so much deeper. There's so much more to your story, which we might have you back on. That'd be fun.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Do it in
Okay.
person next time.
Heck yeah. Yes, definitely. That'd be awesome. Okay. Well, to the listeners, thank you guys so much for watching. And we'll see you guys later.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, guys.